Magic All-Stars.
I mean,
Did it work?
welcome back to the Solid Verbal Live, right here on SB Nation. My name is Ty Hildenbrandt. The man to my left, you know him quite well. His name is Dan Rubenstein, together with the Solid Verbal.
That works for me. Yes, we are, and if they know me well, I hope I know them well, because then it'd be weird.
It would be a little weird.
Yep.
At Solid Verbal is the Twitter handle if you'd like to reach out, ask us a question or two. Dan's got a whole printout in front of him. We're going to get to those a little later on, answer some football, non-football questions, all sorts of cinema magic happening here in Midtown Manhattan this evening, to say the absolute very least. All right, college football week 5, very much in the books to some degree. We've got some games we're going to preview here in just a little bit.
Right.
Some action to discuss from earlier in the week, also some games that are still in progress. So
right.
A loaded slate for us here this evening.
Yes, no defense.
No defense.
None of the defense happened today.
The defense, not a good week for the defense.
No. Where should we start? We got to. It actually, the day could be made up for. It was an exciting day. There were items to take away from it.
It was Big 12-ish, I'd say.
Big 12-ish, not so much ACC-ish.
No. Oh, God, no.
Not so much at all. But I think tonight's slate, it looked really gross-ish. I'm using ish a lot. I have no idea why. It looked kind of gross going into the day, but hopefully that can salvage some of the wreckage. Both physically.
This is sounding awful. Okay.
Oh, wow. People are just tuning out.
Should we talk about Texas, speaking of wreckage?
Let's talk about Texas, Oklahoma State in Stillwater. The quarterback situation still very much up in the air, but it is an intriguing game.
7:50 Texas going to Oklahoma State. This
7:50 Eastern time.
7:50 Eastern.
Right.
We should specify. This is going to be an interesting game. I think we're all kind of curious to watch Texas in action against a quality opponent.
I was just going to say opponent.
Yeah, we haven't seen that yet so far this year. So they go on the road, Oklahoma State. We were talking before we went on the air about how when Oklahoma State sort of senses blood.
Yes. They swarm.
They swarm. Things start to happen, and all of a sudden...
Landry Jones's blood is still on the field in Stillwater. That's how that works.
So I'm curious to see what happens. We do have keys for this one, I think.
Yes, we do. Put the keys up for me, please, Leanne, with 6 ends.
Do we have the keys? Okay.
We should have keys.
There we go.
And we have key party music. You ready for this?
There you go.
That,
okay.
It sounds so good.
Which one do you want to go first? You go Texas.
I'm going to go Texas first. Okay, Longhorns. Dominic Espinosa, the center. We've seen some problems from him. He's been okay, but we've seen. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. This is hilarious.
That's very loud.
But we've seen what can happen, especially during that Stanford-USC game when your center situation is not on point. And the last thing Texas needs at this point is the anchor of that offensive line in the middle to be questionable. We have the wide receivers for Texas, especially Jackson Shipley, Mike Davis.
Sure.
Those guys, Marquise Goodwin, speedsters on the outside. Great when they can get deep, great when they can get open. This is still too loud for me.
It's very loud, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we're in a video game.
We're DJs
here.
pretty much.
This is what we do, yeah.
We're nerdy Skrillex. Oklahoma State's going to try to jam those guys. They are physical guys at the point of attack.
Right.
So it's a matter of, can they deal with that? Can they still run Chris Sprouts? dealing with those situations with Oklahoma State. The last key, if we can put it up for a second, I forget these things. The Texas secondary has been quite good, but it's sort of, at times, it's been feast or famine. Yeah. And Oklahoma State's going to throw the ball, no matter if it's J.W. Walsh or Wes Lunt. So if the secondary of Texas can minimize their own mistakes, that's key. What do you have for Oklahoma State?
Well, what I was going to say, one other point on Texas, really, this is a defense that's been sloppy with making tackles, especially in the linebacking core and in the secondary.
They tackle each other sometimes.
Yeah, so they got to get better doing that in space, notably against Oklahoma State, or it's going to be a big deal. Right. It's going to be a problem. They need to get a little bit better in that department. All right, let's go to Oklahoma State. Yeah. Because Oklahoma State certainly is going to have its share of challenges in this one. The edge rushing to test the linebackers.
Yes, that's the weak point of the Texas defense.
Absolutely, and of course they've got an injury in the linebacking core, which I would expect at some point you're going to try and see Oklahoma State exploit that.
Jordan Hicks has been really the only cog there of note.
The over-aggression on the defense, I think we alluded to that as well. Right. You got to take advantage. You got to find some way to take advantage of the over-aggression on the defense.
Yeah, it's Texas taking advantage of Oklahoma State's over-aggression and not sort of putting themselves in a situation where Texas can just run a simple screen and take advantage. And
forced passing situations. One thing we know about David Ash thus far this season, David Ash has been very good in his own right. But okay, that's very good.
It's a pro move.
I like that.
Continue.
David Ash has been good in his own right, but we've seen some issues with him throwing the deep ball. Right. When he throws a deep ball, he has a tendency to sometimes underthrow. Right. And at least if you're going to throw the deep ball, throw it deep so that it's kind of like an arm punt. Worst case scenario, no one can catch it, or it's an interception deep in the zone. Right. Let's not underthrow the football, force those passing situations. Let's see what David Ash can do. Again, he hasn't seen a team anywhere close to Oklahoma State this season. So
yeah, as many times as we see 3rd and 7 and 3rd and 8, that's going to be the indicator that Oklahoma State is doing something right. That means they're limiting Malcolm Brown, Joe Bergeron, Jonathan Gray, those guys from getting Texas into manageable 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 2s that they can handle doing whatever they want.
What's your pick? Because we like to make fun of Texas. Right. Texas is the easiest team to make fun of in college football. What's your pick here? Do you have a lean?
I think ultimately you side with the team that can control the ball and seems less prone to turning the ball over. We saw what Oklahoma State did in Tucson. That doesn't necessarily define their season. Right. But the fact that Texas is physical in their own run game and is so athletic and so deep and can get to the passer, the fact that they'll be able to confuse either Lunt or J.W. Walsh, Alex Okafor, Jackson Jeffcoat, those guys, even without Brandon Moore, who's out for this game, I think that's gigantic. Okay. So I like Texas by 10.
All right. I like Texas, too. Texas was actually my lock when we did our show earlier in the week. And I realize we haven't seen a lot on Texas. Right. I do expect, though, that this team is going to be much improved against better competition than we saw last season. They already have shown great signs. If you watch Game Day this morning, Desmond Howard talked a lot about how David Ash has improved in making his progressions and how he has improved as a passer. I think we're going to continue to see that. So hopefully, if our locks or our picks are correct, Texas will pull ahead here.
Yes. Before we go to the other games tonight, will you look at your futuristic tablet and give me updates?
Futuristic tablet. We've got a couple games in action here. All right. So Georgia right now leading about midway through the fourth quarter, 51-44 over Tennessee.
It's real football in the SEC.
I saw Stuart Mandel send out a tweet about this one, that it is almost West Virginia Baylor-ish, but for running backs. See, a lot of rushing yards. A lot of rushing yards in this game.
Good for them. I enjoy it.
Oklahoma. We talked about Oklahoma State. Yeah. Ohio State wins by 1 on the road in East Lansing. They were about a 2.5, 3-point underdog.
I don't think that win can be understated or overstated or anything. That's a terrific win, especially with Braxton Miller going down and coming back and finishing out the game for the Buckeyes. That's huge. And for them to go on the road, they haven't been tested at all on the road. And for Braxton Miller to get the experience under the new system on the road, Michigan State, we knew not to expect all that much from the offense. But good for Ohio State. I mean, they're not going to play in January. They're not going to play in late December. Yeah. But to see what they have, and especially given the struggles they've had defensively, it's a terrific win.
And the other one that I know we talked a lot about, Clemson against Boston College. Interested to see what Clemson would do off the loss, right? Loses last week on the road against Florida State. Sort of a season-making or ending type of game very early on in Clemson's season. They rebound quite nicely. They're about to win by 2 scores over Boston College on the road in Chestnut Hill. Again, Boston College is certainly...
You don't just go into Chestnut Hill and... Actually, that's exactly what you do.
That's pretty much what
you go to Chestnut Hill and you dominate.
But still, it's not always the easiest place to play. And Chase Reddick has improved for Boston College. This isn't Florida State, but this was a team that could cause some problems. And they put up 31 points on Clemson in this game. Clemson, though, does rebound nicely. 577 total yardage. Taj Boyd has a nice game. Also, DeAndre Hopkins,
Nuke Hopkins.
11,197.
Sammy Watkins gets all the praise.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Nuke Hopkins.
He's had a pretty good year so far.
Will you pinky promise me something? Pinky swear me.
Okay.
Let's never talk about Chase Reddick again.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
All right.
All right,
You're
let's
on
move on.
Yeah.
We've got another one that we want to preview. We actually solicited some reverbs from our verballers out there.
Yes.
Wisconsin versus Nebraska. Nebraska trying to get some revenge, about a 12-point favorite in this one. Of course, lost badly last season. Wisconsin, not your father. We hear the sirens out here. That pretty much sums up Wisconsin's season
Wisconsin
so far. So let's hear the reverbs. We have a few. These are, I guess, the verballers
weighing in,
weighing in on what the preview should be.
I don't think there's any keys at all.
Key to Saturday's game between Nebraska and Wisconsin is Nebraska's defensive line against Monty Ball.
Unfortunately for the Badgers, while David Gilbert will be playing every play but the first, Patrick Muldoon and Brendan Kelly have been ruled out.
This team and Brett Bielema are going to be completely overmatched.
It is imperative for the Badgers to get good performances from Conrad Zagzebski and Jesse Hayes if they're going to win today.
It doesn't matter what happens tomorrow or what the Badgers try to do. I think Nebraska wins by like 30, if not more.
For me, anyway, this feels like a game where both teams get into the 30s.
They're not good on the road. They've gotten by playing Cake's schedule the last 2 or 3 years and appear to be better than they really are.
All right, so there are your verballer. I think we found the most frustrated Wisconsin fan in the world.
I don't think anybody can ever find. I think it's a bottomless pit of frustration to be a Wisconsin fan in 2012.
All right, so quick read on this game. Nebraska's defense, I think is shaky. I think we would agree is shaky, and that will probably play well into the Wisconsin camp because they've been shaky on offense. So it might be a little bit easier, but I still think you have to look at this game and say, wow, Nebraska's got a pretty big edge here.
Yeah, Nebraska's offense against Wisconsin's defense actually is the matchup, which is weird to say. It's probably the worst defense we've seen from Bo Pelini since he arrived in Lincoln. It's more than anything, it seems to be the open field tackling, which it was the hallmark of Bo Pelini both at LSU and early on at Nebraska. That seemed to have gone away somewhat with this team. Nebraska's at home. It's two teams that you don't like a lot. You go with the home team. Nebraska's offense has the ability. Taylor Martinez has taken step forward, even if he hasn't shown it at all points of the season. But they're putting him in a better situation to get into a rhythm in the passing game. And I don't think Wisconsin's going to be able to match that when they have the ball.
I have some numbers here.
Hit me with numbers.
2 numbers that I want to throw out here. And really, as is often the case, we talk about keys to both sides. Oh, we're going to put this on here? Okay, we're going to talk about keys again?
No, we're not talking keys. I was turning it on because we like recording things on here.
Fair enough.
Continue, sorry.
A lot of times we talk keys on both sides.
Right.
When I look at this one, to me, it's striking that really Nebraska is the one that needs to do the things to win.
Yep.
I don't know if there's really much Wisconsin can do because I'm really down on Wisconsin so far. Nebraska needs to limit its turnovers and its penalty. Listen to this one. 7 turnovers in its last 2 games. And I understand that many of those turnovers came from backups and second and third string guys, but still need to be better with the football.
Sure.
Can't do that against
Somebody
Wisconsin.
gets hurt, those backups and third strings are in there.
Right. Wisconsin's got a pretty good defense so far.
Right.
We've seen them do a good job. So they need to limit the turnovers. They also need to be better with their discipline. 9 penalties in that UCLA game a few weeks ago. So you got to be better. I think if they do those things effectively, we're going to see a Nebraska win. I don't know if it's by 12.
Right.
12 feels like a lot, although they are at home.
It feels like a lot, but they're at home. The big thing to me, that's how Wisconsin can actually win. If Nebraska shoots themselves in the foot enough where they're giving the Badgers short fields, where they're giving them opportunities to not have to work for drives and points. That's the big thing, I think, for the Huskers right now.
Yeah, and Team Magic, you would think, has a lot to prove in this one. He had a bad game last year against the Wisconsin defense that sort of had him running for the hills. So want to see what he can do. This is sort of a revenge game for him if we've ever seen one.
Do you like a lot of points or not that many a lot points?
Well, we heard on the reverb some people said it might go up into 30. I can't see it getting up into 30.
No.
I could see maybe Nebraska.
I could see Nebraska. Yeah, I don't see the game in the 30s as a whole.
Has Wisconsin scored 30 cumulative points all season?
I have no idea how to comment on that question. Probably-ish.
Yeah, around
ish.
With one of those little approximate signs in front of it?
If I had to guess in this game, I like Nebraska 28-17.
That feels about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels about right, somewhere in that range.
Yep.
So. All right, the last one then. I know it's one near and dear to your heart. Oregon, 29-point fave.
Yes.
On the road against Washington State. We actually have a call.
We do. This is a special preview for this.
We have a special celebrity preview from this one. Can we roll the Oregon preview?
Yes.
We have that?
I would love that.
Guys, this is Jesse calling in from Bristol again. I got to say, I heard your analysis of the Oregon-Washington State game on the last podcast, and I thought you guys could use a little help. Guys, on paper, this looks like an absolute blowout. I got to be honest, Washington State absolutely melted down against Colorado last week. And Saturday, Mike Leach's offense will have all it can handle with that Oregon defense led by Nick Aliotti. Now, I tell you what, Oregon's offense gets all the headlines, but that Aliotti defense last week pitched a shutout against Arizona, and it should be able to fly all around the field and stop that air raid offense of the Cougars, regardless of who Washington State has under center. On the other side of the ball, guys, I'm trying to think of how that Mike Bresky defense has a prayer of stopping Marcus Mariota, Kenyon Barner, and the rest of Chip Kelly's offense. Guys, when you talk about Oregon against a defense that isn't physical, recent history tells us the Ducks win big.
All right. Maybe the best Jesse Palmer call we've ever had here on the Solid.
Yeah, Pessy Jommer, Jesse Palmer, whatever we're going to call him. Yes, I mean, it's fantastic.
All right, so cut in, what am I saying? Break down his analysis. What do you think? Cut to the chase. Tell me Jesse Palmer's analysis, right or wrong?
It seems right to me. Washington State, no good. Oregon, good.
That's really what it all comes down to.
Yeah,
right?
There's not too much to be excited for about this game. I think there's sirens. Every single time we
We've got
start
a lot
talking
going on
about
here.
Wisconsin's offense, Washington State's chances against Oregon,
Yeah.
we have authorities on alert.
They're just special sound effects here on the Solid Verbal.
The CGI here, out
Yeah.
of control.
Okay, so you were saying.
Yeah, I think Oregon's going to be able to run all over Washington State's not so vaunted 3-4. And Washington State, I think, will have some success through the air, but it's going to be third, fourth quarter. We saw what Oregon's secondary was able to do finally when they played an actual university on the BCS level.
They look
the secondary
good. How do you
looked great.
feel about that? 49-zip over.
I was aroused,
over
Ty.
Arizona. Yeah, I mean that was a pretty good defensive showing.
It was an erotic display of defense. Yeah, it was terrific. The fact that, and John Boyette being out for the season,
Sure.
that he wasn't a part of that, playing center field. Ifo Ekpre Olomu, that might be somewhere near how you pronounce his name. He seems to be like a genuine playmaking star. Terrence Mitchell seems locked down on the other side.
I'm seeing this twinkle in your eye, and this is dangerous now.
Let me tell you something. The twinkle in the eye is for you.
For me.
Right.
Okay.
There's a glow about me for Oregon.
The glow for Oregon.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be a runaway game for the Ducks there.
29 feels kind of low. I got to be honest. Unless they call off the dogs.
Right.
20. I mean, Oregon can score 29 in 15
I think it's
minutes.
about right. I think it's like 52-20 with, with it being 52-13 with 12 minutes
I don't know
left.
why the number. Wazoo's given up an average of 471 yards per game against BYU, Eastern Washington, UNLV, and Colorado.
Yeah, our director, Robbie, he's like 5'9", 130. He was actively recruited to play nose tackle for Washington State.
And it's his birthday, too.
It is his birthday.
So happy birthday
to
Robbie.
He's a special gentleman.
He's somewhere in the premises here. So,
all right, so yeah, I like Oregon big.
All right, two other real quick ones that we'll get through this evening, and then we'll get to some of the action that's already taken place. Mississippi at Alabama. Alabama minus 31.
Alabama minus anything.
Yeah, you have to go Alabama.
Right.
Is there any doubt in your mind that this is the best team in college football right now?
No, there is no doubt. And a couple of our questions were like Oregon against Alabama, West Virginia against Alabama, the high-flying offense against the no. Alabama at this point has, their crimson foot on the throats of America, and terrific for Alabama. It makes for somewhat boring football when they play against teams like Tennessee and LSU, where it's just a little cramped. Cramped.
Sure.
I don't know. That's a weird way of phrasing it, but yes, Alabama has proven itself to be light years beyond average competition, and Ole Miss is not average. Ole Miss actually will move the ball some in this game. Their offense has taken a step forward, but defensively
gave up 66 to Texas.
Over
600 yards.
Over 600 yards. Another team that probably recruited Robbie to play on the defensive line. I feel terrific about Alabama.
Yeah, I think you have a really hard time right now if you try to argue and say that Alabama isn't the best team.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Where is Alabama vulnerable?
I think secondary. I don't think we've seen them tested in the secondary yet.
Right. They haven't played a team that can throw the ball.
Seen it. And I don't. Again, we're splitting hairs when we're talking about weaknesses.
But do they play a team that can throw the ball? I think they have Texas A&M, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe Georgia at some point if they get
that
to
would be
the
championship game, right?
Maybe, but certainly not LSU. Certainly not Arkansas.
No, and
Arkansas can't do anything.
No, not Arkansas. They already killed Arkansas 52-0. Yeah, it'll be interesting because this still feels like a season because Alabama doesn't have the returners that they've had in previous years coming back from last year that they could still lose a dumb game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to find that argument.
Right.
Quite honestly, it's very difficult to find an argument. Okay.
I'm being told in my ear that everybody can see your cable.
Oh.
So move that. Yeah, so move it away because it's distracting America.
Well, fair enough. Then let's move on.
Yeah. I don't know what you can do with that, but
we
continue.
don't want to distract too much here. Oregon State on the road at Arizona. Arizona a 3-point favorite in this one. Arizona shut out last week by your Oregon Ducks, now getting their crack at the other half of Oregon, squaring off against the Beavers.
The Beavs. Yeah, I think this is a value game. I think Oregon State may be a little overvalued because I'm still not a huge fan of UCLA. It's a terrific win for the Beavers. So I think there might be some overvalue there, and I think there might be some undervalue for Arizona. They actually played Oregon tight in that first half. It was a 13-0 game at the half.
And they had chances, too. They turned the ball over a lot. I mean, they could not punch the ball in when they got to the red zone. But if they can get better at that, then maybe this is
And I don't think Oregon State's defense is as complete as Oregon's at this point. So I think it's not going to be a high-scoring game. Oregon State is going to find success, especially through the air, against the receivers. Marcus Wheaton is somebody that is terrific. I mean, he's a terrific wide receiver. I just said terrific twice. He's a speedy, dangerous wide receiver for the Beavs, and he's going to get his. But ultimately, I think Arizona at home. Oregon State will stop Kadeem Carey some on the ground, but Arizona will find a way. It feels like they're going to watch tape from Oregon and make a drastic step forward.
I would like to see them win this game. I really would. Because I want to see Rich Rod do well. I think he got a bad deal at Michigan. But kind of like Oregon State this year. It's one of the more interesting storylines thus far. We've only seen them play 2 games.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have enough data on Oregon State to really make a judgment call. Is this team good? Is this team... I want to see what happens here. This is a road test against a team that we know can put up some points. Well, thank you, Dan.
That's what they were saying. Continue.
Okay. My bad.
I help out.
Anyway, I do think that Oregon State has what it takes here. I like the defense. I want to see what they can do here against Arizona on the road, but I do like Oregon State.
Cool.
So, all right, let's go to some of the action. Oh, do you have something else?
Somebody's asking us what we're drinking.
Oh.
What are you drinking tonight?
This is a seasonal.
It's a seasonal?
A seasonal. We'll just leave it at that because we can't say.
Well, is there a flavoring? Is that like a pumpkin?
It is pumpkin.
How do you like the pumpkin flavoring?
I do. It's a little strong here, and it's warm because it's been sitting out for a while.
This is annoying me.
Okay. Well,
Keep talking. No, it was rubbing up against your shirt.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
It's a great shirt, though. Continue.
Thank you.
It's a pumpkin ale.
So here's my thing, all right? I like the pumpkin.
Yeah.
I like the pumpkin.
Sure.
But the problem with this time of year, especially when we start talking about pumpkin beverages, have you noticed, are you part of this Facebook thing?
This Facebook thing?
Have you heard of this site?
Oh, yeah, the Facebooks.
It seems like whenever anyone drinks any pumpkin thing, they feel compelled to take the picture of it.
Right.
And then put, like, my first pumpkin, I don't care.
It's garbage.
I like it.
Yeah.
But you don't do that, do you?
Let me ask you something.
What is that?
This is not Diet Peach Snapple iced tea.
Okay.
It's real good.
It looks
It's not, though. I mean, I know it looks like it is. It's definitely not. What's up, Snapple?
What were you going to ask me?
I don't remember what I was going to ask you.
You know, do you just want to move on?
I just want to move on.
All right. West Virginia 70, Baylor 63. This game took place earlier today. Defense.
Stupid numbers.
Defense. Do we have the Geno Smith scrambling touchdown pass? I mean, this was really all you need to see. Look.
That's not what they tell you to do at football camp.
He's wide open in the back of the end zone.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
How is he wide open in the back of the end zone?
Give me his final line, Geno Smith's final line.
Final line, 45 of 51, 656, 8 touchdowns. He now has 20 on the season.
Dumb.
I have a friend who may have bet the over on 34.
Is your friend Cy Mildenbrandt?
34 touchdown passes on the year for Geno Smith.
What's he at right now?
20 on the season.
That's not
0
bad.
interceptions.
And he's got Texas next week. We don't know what Texas will do tonight yet, as people are probably watching this knowing how dumb we are tomorrow and the next day. But, yeah, it's going to be a great game next week. It sets up to be terrific.
Also,
again, terrific.
Another play in this game that was incredible. J.D. Woods.
Oh, ridiculous.
Show the catch. Let's show the catch. Look at that. It's like he's catching a softball there.
I was going to make a joke, and I'm still going to make it.
Okay.
That very few people can be that good with one hand.
Oh, right.
But, I mean,
you're making a genitals joke there, is what you're doing.
It was a genital joke. Okay. There it was.
Well, that's fine.
You're quick.
Nick Florence also, in a losing effort,
In a losing effort.
581, 5 touchdowns. You mentioned West Virginia on the road against Texas next week, Dan.
In Austin. I will be there.
You will be there. What are we going to do here?
That is yet to be determined. I want there to be a real doll. Remember that movie, the Real Doll movie?
Okay.
Yeah. It was Lars and the Real Girl or something along those lines. I want a real doll made up of me, but instead there's a screen, like an iPad, and I'll just Skype in. But it's going to be real weird.
We'll have to figure something out.
Anatomically as incorrect as possible.
We'll have to figure something out. That'll be interesting. Also in this one, I should mention, Tavon Austin, 215 receiving. Stedman Bailey, 303 and 5 touchdowns through the air.
Yeah, and Andrew Bowie, the West Virginia running back, 82 yards on 25 carries.
Heisman!
What are we talking about, Andrew Bowie?
Crazy yards.
Yeah.
Crazy yards in this game, not much defense. And, of course, that's what people ask when they think about West Virginia. What about defense?
Right.
We don't need to know at this point.
They're a Big 12 title contender. Giving up, however, was 63 points. 63 points
Yeah.
at home. Nationally speaking, nope.
Nice to see they've adapted to Big
But I
12
guess
football.
if they win the Big 12, it doesn't matter how bad their defense
It
is.
doesn't.
They'll get killed in the national championship game, but
Yeah.
good for, or at least against a stout D.
Okay.
Good for West Virginia, not so good for Baylor.
Made the Arkansas joke earlier.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to be able to move the ball on Alabama. They can't move the ball on anybody
Period.
right now. It continues to get worse.
Yeah.
With John L.
I need to
Smith.
record something, by the way.
Okay, so this is how the
Tire fire.
I think they have to be We'll turn that up. They've got to be a nominee, right?
Yes.
58-10 losers today.
I think at this point it's the Arkansas Memorial Tire Fire Award.
Are they sponsoring it?
They're the sponsor of the award itself.
Okay, sponsored by like the Fayetteville National Credit Union or something.
Yes.
They can host a bowl game or a Tire Fire Award. I mean, 58-10 here. Look at this Johnny Manziel jump pass, or whatever we're calling it. I called it a jump pass.
No, he's just scooting around.
And he is very fast, too. See how he did that sort of little skip there?
Touchdown.
Yeah.
There it was.
That was
that's how
actually-
the announcers technically should. That's what they teach you at
Craig
journalism
James was
school.
in on this one, and he was the one making that noise.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what that. That's when I watch Johnny Manziel play football. Play the footballs.
Yeah.
That's what I see. He goes how many yards overall?
I think I have 453 here, but I think
That's
it was
through the air.
I think it was more in
Right.
total if you want to count his rushing yards, 104
Right.
rushing yards. He's really good.
He's really good, and he's now one of the more interesting offensive stories in the SEC, which is actually building up offensive characters. Not offensive characters, offensive characters. I mean, Aaron Murray again. We see A.J. McCarron be more than a game manager. I hate that word so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, T.J. Yeldon, all sorts of guys that offensively are becoming standouts and players to watch. And Johnny Manziel as a redshirt freshman. Is it Manziel or Manziel?
I've heard it go both
know.
ways. I like Manziel.
Yeah,
I
he's
feel
like-
like a
he's
circus act when I say Manziel.
He's a gazelle.
Ooh.
Right? What? Did we just? No, probably not.
We started a new.
No, there's no way. Okay, yes, but Texas A&M
did
looking
well.
quite good. Arkansas
Not
not
so much.
smiling.
No.
John L. Smith wants you to smile. There's no
No.
smiling in Fayetteville.
There is no smiling in Fayetteville.
Right.
Not at all.
Next.
More than 1,200 total yards. Big game here. A lot of offense. That was a recurring theme.
And this is something we were really looking forward to preseason. What Kevin Sumlin would be able to do in
Yeah.
College Station with a more wide
This
open
worked
attack.
well. Whatever he did
Looking
here,
good.
if he can continue. Well, they can't play Arkansas the rest of their games.
And a
but-
salty defense. But yes,
Okay. Miami 44, NC State 37.
I'm putting the U right in your frame.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate
I'm
that.
framing you with the U.
This is great.
Oh, this is good.
great.
Good video.
Can't
Continue.
wait for the game next week.
Yes.
As Miami seems to be getting better, neutral site game. The Shamrock Series, wearing those wonky, I don't know what's up with the uniforms. I feel like they're Oregon.
Does this mean Oregon won culturally in college football?
They've established their own culture at this point. I'll give you that.
Right. All right.
They have done something right. And
I mean, it's the eternal argument with Notre Dame being like the stodgiest traditionalists, whatever, and
No,
Oregon being,
never.
I know, and Oregon being, the weird innovation is our tradition, and now Notre Dame has new uniforms. I think Oregon won. What's up, America?
The reason I'm nervous about this game, again, Miami 44, NC State 37.
Right.
This was a back-forth game. A lot of points, a lot of yardage, but Stephen Morris, well over 500 total yards.
There's a bug on the keyboard. There's a bug on the keyboard. Continue. Stephen
bug is
Morris,
always
huge
there.
game for Stephen Morris.
566, 5 touchdowns. I will be interested to see what happens next week.
That's what I was going to ask you. The context of that performance against Notre Dame.
Terrified, because now he's proven he can throw against someone. And not to say NC State's defense is Notre Dame's defense,
Right.
but NC State has a decent secondary. At least they were supposed to.
They were supposed
to, right?
Their August secondary, out of control.
Yeah, not good.
Thank
Has
you.
not been good. So Miami, big win for Miami here, headed into that neutral site game again in Chicago. Against Notre Dame next week.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another Tire Fire nominee we should mention, Middle Tennessee State 49, Georgia Tech 28.
Algro gets paid American currency
Middle
to coach
Tennessee
that
State,
defense.
510 total yards.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Well, listen, you don't just play teams burrowed right in the center of the state of Tennessee that really shouldn't have a direction before their name, but there
Right.
they are. Middle is not a direction.
You do not
So
need
are
the
they
middle, yeah.
technically a directional
I
school?
think the middle's assumed.
Right, the middle's assumed. Georgia Tech, certainly an Arkansas Memorial Tire Fire Award nominee.
I think that's safe to say, yeah.
Yes, the Georgia Tech defense. Georgia Tech is the team, and we've mentioned this before. As soon as you think Georgia Tech is good, or as soon as you think you know what Georgia Tech is, they say, oh no, and they just poop on whatever you thought.
They Georgia Tech themselves.
That's what they do.
That's what they do. And they gave up a ton of rushing yards in this one. Usually it's the other way around,
Yeah.
right? Usually it's the other way around. It's the other teams who have a hard time dealing with the rushing attack. And obviously Georgia Tech did a lot of that in this game. But ultimately, Benny Cunningham? Who? Benny Cunningham?
Benny Cunningham. He sounds like a friendly neighbor.
217 and 5 touchdowns on the ground.
Not so friendly.
All right.
How bad does that make Virginia, by the way? Do we have a final on that game?
They
Louisiana
were
Tech?
losing, I think, to Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, it was 41-24 late. Somebody, let's just assume.
Well, we can assume that they didn't play well.
Right.
Let's put it at that.
Yes.
All right. Going back to Thursday, I wanted to mention this because I know you are a Pac-12 fight.
Yes.
I don't know what that
I like
is.
how that sounds. No, that works.
Washington 17, Stanford 13. Did you watch this game here, being on the East Coast?
I watched every goddamn second of this game, and I'm
sorry.
not better
I'm
for
sorry.
it. I know.
Defensive lines look pretty good on both sides.
Both sides. Well,
Right?
it's hard to know with Stanford. Let's just assume, because Stanford's looked so good all year up front defensively, that they had a nice game. Just Washington. People, I guess the Huskies won't be happy with me saying Washington State instead of whatever. The offensive line is so bad, and Keith Price is going to be running for his life all season if he's upright all season.
That's going to be an issue.
But the big difference for Washington from where they were last season defensively is that their players just seemed to be in the right place. Their players, their keys were correct. They were following gaps. They were doing what they needed to do, and that's credit to Justin Wilcox and to a lesser extent, Tosh Lupoy, who took over the defensive line. It really is refreshing to see Washington play a more complete game, beat an opponent not a lot of people thought they could, albeit at home on a Thursday night where weird things happen. Washington, a really nice game from Kason Williams on the outside when Keith Price was able to get him the ball.
Had a big play.
Had a huge play, and it was a great read as Stanford was doing what it was doing against USC and just bum rushing the middle.
Yeah.
And Keith Price got rid of the ball, got it to the edge quickly. It was a great play call, a great adjustment.
Keith Price, it will be interesting to see if he is upright by the end of the year.
Right.
And there's no doubt that Stanford's defensive line was just mauling the crap out of him in this game. I mean, they blitzed from every possible direction. Really, this game swung on 2 plays. It was 2 plays. There was the big, I think, 61-yard run on 4th and 1.
Yep.
And that sprung Washington. Then they had the touchdown pass late in the game that we mentioned. And
Right.
that was really all it took. It was really only 2 big plays.
Yeah. Does this game change your opinion of the Washington-Oregon game next week?
Changed my opinion? Not really.
I think it does for me a little bit.
Does it?
Yeah, because part of what Oregon's offensive strategy is all about is catching people out of position.
Sure.
And the misdirection stuff. But if Washington is going to be more disciplined than they've ever been, it seems like it could be closer than it has been in recent years.
Okay.
Maybe, but I think Oregon's going to murder
Oregon's
Keith Price.
really good. Really good.
Yeah, up front defensively, I think that's going to be an issue with Deion Jordan just getting in every single backfield.
They're going to be aggressive, no doubt about that. All right, let's go to some action from earlier today. Ohio State, we mentioned, won 17-16 on the road in East Lansing. We have a play here from a gentleman by the name of Keith Mumphrey.
That sounds right. Michigan State player. Absolutely just keeps running
Is this
through.
Mumphrey and Son? Who is this?
Yes, okay, that was really dumb. I can't even make a joke off of that pun. This Ohio State's open field tackling. You'll see the sort of rip for the fumble, which is exactly what you're not supposed to do in situations
It's like
this.
a swarm of angry bees. There.
Right. And Ohio State, to their credit, survives despite this, but a great play from Mumphrey and Sons.
I'm sorry for the joke.
No, it happens. I was going to make it if you weren't going to.
All right. Well,
I was just going to do a funny version of it.
Fair enough.
Okay, yeah.
Fair enough. I mentioned Clemson. Clemson wins 45-31. We talked about the stats in that game there. Yeah.
It's just been too long without it. Yeah.
Clemson looked good in this game.
Yeah.
They looked good. They gave up still too many points, too many yards to a team. Boston College, again, not horrible at home. They've typically played pretty well there.
Right.
I don't like Boston College at all.
Okay.
But still, it's good to see Clemson come off that loss and play this way. Put 45 on the board. That's important for them to move forward. They still have a chance. Who knows what happened to Florida State? Florida State is certainly not immune from Clemson moments, let's say, in their own right. So I don't think it's too far removed to say that Florida State could potentially stumble at some point. I don't think they will.
No, it's not far removed at all.
But it happens. It's happened before.
Yeah. Can I get an update on Georgia, Tennessee? Is that over?
I believe that game is final.
What was the final?
51-44.
51-44. So Tennessee covers.
Tennessee covers. The backdoor cover.
Tennessee, the backdoor
But again,
cover.
a lot of points here.
A lot of points.
A lot of points.
And there's just an image of a Georgia fan that just makes me smile. He is beleaguered because at a certain point, Tennessee was coming back into this game. But I want to see this picture of the Georgia fan.
I remember when we were looking at this, look at this guy.
Yeah. Oh.
He wins the tire fire something.
First of all, what is the hat matching with the spikes coming out of the shoulder? Because that's like the Raider look, right?
Right.
The spikes coming out of the shoulder
That's
pads.
like Georgia's Legion of Doom guy right there.
Right.
That's what that is.
This is Pimp Colonel Sanders. I don't know what. He's got the white, the wispy white drawn-on mustache.
And then the pin. Yeah. Right. Here's the thing about fashion statements.
Right.
You can really only go for one at a time.
Right.
When you start going for multiples, that's when it's like, all right, like pump the brakes a little bit here.
He's trying to do too much.
You end
Too
up
many
on our
toppings.
show
Too many toppings on the pizza.
Right. Which also we've discussed.
That was actually the chancellor of the University of Georgia. That's what we're now learning.
Okay.
Oh, I love that. Beleaguered Georgia
God.
fan. You're my favorite.
He wins something.
Yeah.
Life maybe.
Yeah.
51-44.
Yes.
A lot of points. How good is Georgia?
Really good. Especially because they're able to do this offensively. I'm disappointed they gave up 44. I know it might have been backdoor at the end of the game, but even giving up 37 at home, Tennessee is a decent enough team. But yeah, they take a step forward in my mind offensively, a step back defensively. So they're sort of where they were before, which is to say, really good. A top 5 team can probably. I think they're as good as LSU is at this point, because LSU's offense is still much more of a question than anything Georgia has to me.
Okay.
All right, what else you got?
Florida State 13, South Florida 3.
That was very dramatic of you. I like that. 13-3?
Yeah.
What's the time situation?
They're telling me final on here, but
That's a final.
I don't see how it could be final. Didn't it go at 6 o'clock?
I have no idea. I don't.
Whatever it is, 13-3 at whatever point, be it halftime, be it after 60 minutes.
We pay children that are not supposed to be working illegal wages to keep track of these things for me. I can't remember.
That's still way too close.
Yes.
Way too close. And I know we were both skeptical of what would happen in this situation for Florida State because they're kind of in an opposite spot, right?
Yep.
Again, still going on the road, as Clemson did. Clemson was in a...
You don't just go to St. Pete, Ty.
You don't go to St. Pete?
You don't just go to St. Pete and expect ease.
The last time these guys played, I believe South Florida won 27-7, somewhere in that range. So, you know, it's one of those deals, again, off the big win. You don't know how a team's going to respond, and sure enough, they come out and, well, maybe a little flat.
13-3 is the final, actually. Is that right, Will?
That must have been the
here.
quickest game in the history of games.
That was very quick. A lot of running.
Yeah.
A lot of clock running.
Okay.
Also,
Also,
it's halftime.
Oh, it's halftime.
It's halftime.
I knew it had to be halftime.
We're firing all of the 10-year-olds. All of the 10-year-olds are fired.
Okay, Cincinnati
Right.
against Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Who do you like here?
Who do I like here?
Yeah, who do you like here? I'm not showing you the score yet. Who do you like?
Well, the last thing I had heard was that Cincinnati had won or had gone up with a few seconds left on like a 40-ish.
27-24.
27-24. Cincinnati wins.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, a team 2 years ago, disappointing first year for Butch Jones.
Very disappointing. Yeah.
Last season quietly took a very nice step forward, especially defensively, which I don't think they get the credit for because they've had all those great wide receivers and quarterbacks. I believe Ben Mock, is that his name? Is that the name I'm looking for? Ben Mock.
God, I hope not.
Still no eligibility.
Yeah.
Still no eligibility. Yeah, there's Virginia Tech.
What's the deal with Virginia Tech? I mean, this offense has been really bad.
Yeah, well, Logan
Really
Thomas,
bad.
#1 overall pick.
According to
What's
Mel
up,
Kiper.
ladies?
Yeah, I mean,
What's
it's been astounding to watch it too because I think we're pretty used to watching a Virginia Tech game and knowing what we're going to get.
Right.
You sort of expect the same things year in and year out.
Right.
No, not this year at all. They
Nope.
just they can't find the running game. They're a shell of what they've been over the last couple of seasons.
You know what I think here? I have no reason to think it. Virginia Tech's going to beat Florida State. It's just setting up that. I have no reason to think it. Not a single one. I believe the game's in Blacksburg, which I guess is a reason.
Yeah.
It just feels
Tough place to play.
We're all so down on Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And they're a team that every year in and year out, I'm not going to have faith that they're doing it this year, but history shows that they get stronger as the season goes on. History also shows they don't lose to teams like Pitt and Cincinnati.
No.
This game was in Landover, MD, but it feels weird. It feels, especially with this, it feels like the year that something dumb is going to happen like that.
Yeah, Virginia Tech has.
What's up, Snapple?
Virginia Tech has had its share already of weird point spreads.
Yep.
We saw it with the Pitt game a couple weeks ago. This could be another one of them.
Notre Dame.
What about?
I just feel like we have to say that. just eventually in this show.
On the bye week?
Yeah, in the bye week. Notre Dame has a bye week. USC has a bye week.
Yeah.
Nothing to discuss there. What else do we have?
We have the DGB catch for Missouri.
Dorial Green Beckham.
An 80-yard. He had one catch for 80 yards.
See, this is a play where it's like you don't think he's an NFL receiver, but seeing a guy slide down DGB gives me the impression that he's in college
did you say
football.
Slide down DGB?
Yes. Slide down DGB, which you're
Can
not
we
allowed
say
to
that
do.
on this?
No, you need a parent's signature to slide down on DGB. It gives me the impression that the next 2.5 years are going to be very trying for SEC defensive backs. No matter how good or bad Missouri is,
yeah.
he's going to be very good. So good to see DGB.
Okay, I want to get to the Tire Fire nominees, then we'll get to our Twitter questions to round out the show.
Yep.
You know what we like to do on the program. We nominate some people for Tire Fire of the Week, sponsored by the Fayetteville National Credit Union.
Absolutely.
I think that's a fair thing to say. There's the graphic. Oh, that sweet, sweet graphic. We've got 3 nominees here this evening, Dan. Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech lost 49-28 to Middle Tennessee State. That is not acceptable.
Right. No, not at all.
Baylor's defense giving up 807 total yards to West Virginia.
It could have been worse, Ty.
It could have been worse.
They could have given up 808 yards.
Yeah.
That would have been way more embarrassing.
And then Illinois.
We haven't discussed Illinois.
Why should we?
No, there is no reason. I was just thinking as hard as I could
Loses
for a
by
reason.
28 at home to Penn State, a team that is not without its own fair share of problems.
Yeah, you watched some of this game.
Unfortunately, I watched it at a Penn State bar, which, by the way, had 15 giant televisions showing nothing but this game.
Right, and they didn't blow out.
That was my hell.
That was were the Penn State fans fun to hang out with?
Penn State fans are great. I love Penn State fans. I hate watching Matt McGloin play football on 15 televisions. That's a little much for me. 15 TVs, Matt McGloin.
Yeah.
Didn't look bad in this game, but didn't look good. So.
I like when your voice goes up. That's when you get really mean.
You like that?
That's how I know when you're getting mean.
Okay. So who's your Tire Fire? Georgia Tech, Baylor, or Illinois?
Illinois just doesn't matter.
No.
So they're out of the running for me. Georgia Tech we thought mattered, and
they lose to the Blue Raiders? Is that what the Blue Raiders?
So we're saying Baylor.
I mean, we knew Baylor's defense was bad.
We knew.
So this was sort of an expected result. What we didn't expect was a 21-point loss by Georgia Tech to Middle Tennessee. Got to go Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech.
All right. All right. We asked people to write in on the Twitter. Let us know what's on their mind. Give us their questions. What are their questions, Dan?
All right. Rapid fire. Ty. This question says, Dan, when are you going to be in Austin? No. Other than that,
when are you going to be in Austin?
I'm going to be in Austin Friday through Sunday.
Wow.
Friday night through Sunday morning for who's playing? It's a college football.
I believe it'll be West Virginia, Texas.
That sounds right to me.
Okay.
What's some good advice on avoiding real-life Clemsonings?
Ooh.
So giving somebody a high expectation of either yourself or a situation and then letting people down.
If there's some way to temper expectation.
Under promise, over deliver.
Under promise, over deliver.
Right.
You know, I think that's probably the best way to go if you're gonna do anything.
What I do, and this is just strategic, I overpromise and I just don't show up.
Okay.
It's not even under delivering. It's just being absentee.
Okay.
West Virginia or Oregon versus Bama. I don't know exactly what this means, whether or not who has a better chance of beating Alabama, who has a better chance of facing Alabama.
I got to go Oregon.
Or who
got
just
the better
interests
defense.
you more.
Oregon's got the better defense. At this point, we know they at least have a defense.
Right.
So I got to go Oregon there.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
I go Wars.
Yeah.
DC or Marvel?
Probably Marvel.
I don't care.
I don't really.
I just don't care.
Marvel.
Yeah. Barbecue beef or pork?
I go barbecue beef.
I tend to as well. If it's brisket, I prefer a perfectly cooked brisket to a perfectly cooked, pulled pork.
Yeah.
I still love both.
This is a college football show too.
This
is
college
relevant stuff here.
This is important.
People eat this stuff outside
Watch
the games.
Batman movie or receive a life-saving transplant.
Wait, what?
Couldn't you just watch the Batman movie after receiving the transplant?
Is Batman giving us the transplant?
That would be sweet.
In which case, I'll take that.
Do you have any iPhone 5s in inventory?
No, we don't have any in inventory right now.
It's a good-looking
It's funny
phone.
you would mention something
So
like that.
much porn.
Yeah.
It's inappropriate. What time will West Virginia start burning couches tonight?
I believe they started 3 hours ago.
They did.
Yeah, 3 hours ago.
Have you ever burnt a couch or been a party to a burning couch?
I've burnt a sparkler. That was about the extent of my
you're such a rebel.
pyrotechnics.
God,
Good old Eastern
you're the bad boy of the solid verbal.
I am.
Is it wrong to be 3 deep by halftime of West Virginia Baylor when halftime came at noon in his time zone?
No, I watched that game.
It enhances the experience.
I feel like that game made you want to drink, not because it was so bad, but because it was exciting. You needed something to take the edge off the nerves.
Do that again?
To take the edge off the nerves.
That was busty. Can I get my camera real quick? Can we get, sir, you have a problem. Okay, let's move on. West Virginia's offense versus Bama's defense. We sort of answered that already.
Yeah.
This one is in the middle of the fold. Should I be ashamed that I have the same last name as a certain Michigan State quarterback? The gentleman's name is Mark Maxwell. We just put you on blast, Mark. Should he be ashamed?
No. Can he throw a better spiral?
Probably.
Is he better?
Is he anybody else other than Andrew Maxwell?
If he is, then it's fine.
Then yes, he can throw a better spiral. How do I get my wife to watch the baby while I watch college football and drink beer? Can I get the one camera again? Here we go. Sir, you also have a problem. Okay, how does he do it?
We can't really comment on this unless I don't know if you have any illegitimate children.
Well, I probably wouldn't know.
Yeah, I mean, not that I know of either. So I don't know if there's some sort of bait and switch that can.
Do you feel like you're fertile?
Can I get the one camera, please?
Yeah, get the one camera.
I hope so. That's all I have to ask. That's
I
all I
love
have to say about that. Yeah, I mean, unless he's got a body double.
Right.
If he's got the body double, then maybe he can what
you got to do is you got to promise something in the future, like a date night, Tuesday night.
Some
That's
sort
the
of.
key. You got to, and you probably have to overpay.
We're going for sushi on Valentine's Day.
Right. Exactly.
Something like
that.
that.
Should be in the cards anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, you have to say, in order to get something as selfish as college football without the baby, you have to promise more than just a date, like a couple date nights.
Collateral. Is what you're
Yes,
saying.
absolutely.
Collateral.
So you know, stuff in the bedroom. Bedroom stuff is always helpful.
Can't go there.
No.
With this,
well,
but
we've already.
yeah.
What is quote? This is in all caps. What is quote beaver juice?
Do we have to answer that?
I'm going to answer that on my camera. I'm going to say beaver juice. It's the same thing as when you go to a restaurant and the waiter or waitress provides you with specials. If you have to ask the price, then it's too much. So if you have to ask what beaver juice is, it's not for you.
Probably not something
No.
we could talk about here on the show.
Will Virginia Tech ever get a first down? That's part A.
Part A.
I'm going to say yes.
I'm
That's
going
a stupid
I'm going to say
question.
yes,
Yeah.
but it's just a matter of when and against whom. So
Do you like cornbread and chicken livers?
not really.
Have you ever had chicken liver?
I have. I don't.
You're not a fan of the chopped liver?
No.
I'm not adventurous enough for liver, but I've recently grown.
The thought of eating the organ to me is sort of.
I think you'll get there. I think
sort of skis me out a little bit.
I think championship weekend or rivalry weekend, we'll put a mystery organ in front of you,
Oh, terrific.
and humans included.
Okay.
All right, I'm reading number Texas because somebody did this
Right.
on Twitter.
Texas with a $.
Texas's defense. No, it was with a hashtag.
Oh, the hashtag,
Yeah.
okay.
Texas defense is pretty solid. You think Geno Smith could repeat his performance against the Longhorns next week?
I don't
So
think
he's
it's-
asking if he can throw for 600 yards.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of the question that he could have a solid game.
Yeah.
I don't think it's out of the question he could throw for 3, even 400 yards. He's not going to throw for over 600 yards. He's not going to
Right.
throw for 8 touchdowns.
Especially if Texas goes up, they're gonna. I mean, it's not like they're gonna start throwing
Right,
all the time.
yeah.
They air it out.
He's not going to throw for 8 touchdowns, and Stedman Bailey's not going to have 300 yards. It's
Right.
Probably not going to happen that way.
Can Northwestern get a shout out for handing off the loss record to Indiana?
5-0, baby. 5-0. You're Northwestern Wildcats.
They
here.
will be ranked this week.
They should be ranked.
They
this week.
will be ranked this week. 5-0. Your Northwestern Wildcats. I believe they've only played one FCS opponent. They've scheduled well enough, so they're one game away from a bowl.
5-0.
5-0.
5-0.
Go
Good for-
Cats.
Good for Pat Fitzgerald. By the way, the most overseen coach when his team is playing in a game.
People love themselves some Pat.
I mean, that in and of itself is a drinking game. To see how many times Pat Fitzgerald is shown on TV. If you take a swig every time.
No, continue.
You're going to be feeling it by like midway through the first quarter.
Can I get the one shot? If you take a swig every time, you have a problem. I don't know. I just like saying
This
that.
is us on life. Go ahead.
Okay, final question. Will the defensive backs from the Baylor-West Virginia game be going pro in something other than sports? That's from West Coast Kevin. The answer is
Probably.
yes.
Probably.
The answer is most certainly yes. Do you have any score updates before we bid a fine adieu?
UCLA 21-7.
Against Colorado.
Against Colorado.
Not a surprise. I'm going to watch you scroll.
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered most of the action here, to be honest. We already talked about some of the games that took place.
What time is it?
It
so
is.
we have Texas kicking off right now. I feel like watching that game.
Yeah.
What do you feel like eating tonight?
I go for Two Boots Pizza again.
Two Boots Pizza.
Yeah.
It's a delight.
good
So
stuff.
no other score?
No, it's not. No, this is updated that it is halftime, so it's gone from
Okay.
final to halftime.
It wasn't an hour and a half football game.
No.
That's good. That's
No
positive.
commercials. So I think that's all we got for tonight.
All right, that is all we have for tonight. I'm going to sign off because you've gotten to sign off in previous
By all
weeks.
means.
Thank you to everybody that has watched this show. Do pay attention to solidverbal.com, @solidverbal on the Twitters, the phone number to leave a voice message during the week for our weekly show, bi-weekly show.
That's right.
2 shows per week on Sundays and Wednesdays, 206-338-1784. Many thanks to all those who listen and watch. Thank you to all of the people in the control room. Again, it's Robbie's birthday. Shout out to Leanne with 6 N's. Shout out to Josh Dodd, trim, svelte, a pro, a total pro. Shout out to Will, who is giving me his dinner order in my ear as we speak.
It's very distracting.
Did we leave anybody out, Robbie? He's our Gelman.
Yeah,
we have a Gelman. I feel really good about this.
We do, yeah.
No, we got everybody. All right, shout out to Brendan, who's not here, but I just like Brendan. All right, that's all the time we have for anybody to watch us live. Enjoy the rest of the evening slate of games. For Ty Hildenbrandt, that guy in the plaid, I am Dan Rubenstein. Those are sirens, again, because we're essentially the equivalent of a live broadcast version of Arkansas.
Pretty much.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Stay soft.